Whether you realize it or not, World War III has already begun. Right now, it's obvious to see the war between Russia and NATO, as the media likes to portray it, between Russia and Ukraine. But realistically, it's Russia versus NATO, has already heating up. And there's no turning back, according to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Russia is all in on this war against Ukraine, and so is the West. But I'm telling you now, China is the one you really want to keep your eyes on. Let's get into some articles and let me explain the situation. Newsweek reports Russia West ties reach point of no return amid Ukraine war, says Lavrov. Guys, this thing is heating up, and our politicians are not doing anything to cool things down. The article says Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has blamed the U.S. and its Western allies for pushing ties with Moscow to the point of no return by supporting Ukrainian efforts to resist the Kremlin. In a related article coming from Newsweek, the headline reads, Red lines have already been crossed by U.S., Russia warns. So again and again, in different articles and different sources, Russia is trying to warn the public and warn the West that World War III and nuclear war is all but inevitable because NATO keeps provoking Russia by supporting Ukraine and forcing Russia to double down in this attack against Ukraine, which was done to prevent further encroachment by NATO. The headlines or the article reads, all the red lines have already been crossed by the Western countries, Polanski said in a phone interview Tuesday. There is already semi-direct involvement of NATO in the conflict because it's not just weaponry, but it's intelligence. The situation is where the targets of certain artillery systems, in particular HIMARS, these targets can be hit only with coordination from Washington. And this was acknowledged by the Ukrainian officials. So it's already been acknowledged that the United States is not only providing Ukraine with HIMARS, which is a very effective weapon in this military conflict against Russia, but also with military intelligence. U.S. is essentially picking out the targets, giving Ukraine the weapons, picking out the targets, and giving them the ability to hit those targets effectively. So it's a proxy war. Everybody understands that, but the media doesn't want to acknowledge that it's all of NATO fighting Russia, not just Ukraine. The Russian diplomat appeared to be referring to a story in the Washington Post from February 9th. It reported that 3 senior Ukrainian officials and a senior U.S. official said that Ukraine requires coordinates provided or confirmed by the U.S. and its allies for the vast majority of strikes using HIMARS and other similar precision-guided weapons, such as the M270 multiple launch rocket system. It means, this is a quote, that NATO is not only providing weapons, but also are choosing the targets for Ukrainian strikes. So what is it but direct involvement by NATO? Now, here's the thing. The war between Russia and Ukraine, or should I say Russia and NATO, has been going on for over a year now. We're pushing a year now with that conflict. So I think a lot of people have already, especially people in the United States, have already begun to just get used to it. They're taking it for granted. They've stopped following the news on this topic. But this war is starting to involve China. We see that recently the spy balloon was shot down. There was a spy balloon that was detected and shot down over the United States, over the Atlantic Ocean after crossing the United States. But now we're seeing an increase of balloons and aerial attacks or aerial surveillance coming from China as China is beginning to get more and more involved in this conflict against NATO. China is the real key player here that we need to keep our eye out for, because Russia so far has been taking on NATO and Ukraine single-handedly. But when China gets involved, not only are they bringing an economic powerhouse plus a billion people, a population of over a billion people, but they're also tied to North Korea. So this is going to become a multi-fronted. This war is going to be fought on multiple fronts. Check out this article. China threatens to punish the U.S. for shooting down its spy balloon that floated past sensitive military sites before a jet shot it out of the sky. Now, this article was recently released, but it's no surprise. The media is trying to portray this spy balloon as though it's the first spy balloon or the first balloon that China has ever sent over. But in years past, China has sent over balloons and it just never received any media attention. But now the U.S. media is purposefully giving this a lot of attention because the U.S. is trying to prime and prepare its population for the impending doom. The article reads, in the aftermath of the February 4th downing of the spy balloon, the Biden administration said that the Chinese military has targeted more than 40 countries across 5 continents with balloons like the one the U.S. shot down. Additionally, the U.S. sanctioned 6 Chinese entities for quote-unquote supporting Beijing's military modernization efforts, specifically those related to aerospace programs, including airships and balloons. Although Beijing has admitted that the downed balloon belonged to China, it continues to insist it was just a weather balloon that flew off course. Yeah, right. Now listen, I'm not saying that China is any innocent party here. Of course, this was not just a innocent weather balloon. That's BS. China is just like America is trying to test to see how America will respond to its actions. The article further states, we are firmly opposed to what the U.S. has done and urge the U.S. not to take further actions that could undermine China's interests or escalate tensions. The Chinese government, says this spokesperson, also demanded that the U.S. stop smearing and attacking China and stop misleading the U.S. public and the international community. You see, you have to understand, China is patient. This is the country that produced the art of war. China sat back for all of 2022 to see what would be the outcome, to see how the U.S. and NATO would respond to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But don't think for one second Russia has forgotten its desires to invade Taiwan or North Korea's desire to invade South Korea. The article ends, China reserves the right to further respond if necessary. Yeah, guys, I think it's going to be necessary. I think it's safe to say that you should expect this war to be around. This is going to be a war of attrition. This is going to be a long, slow grind. And it's like the old adage of putting the frog in cold water and letting it heat up. You know, if you haven't heard it, it pretty much goes like this. If you take a frog and you put it in boiling water, it's going to jump out every time. But if you take a frog and put it in cold water and slowly heat up that water in the pot, the frog will just sit there until it boils to death because it's going to get used to the gradual warming of that water. It goes in thinking it's cool and it's fine and it's just sitting in water. It's natural habitat. But as that water gets hot and hot and hot, it's going to start to boil and the frog will die. China is the one you really need to keep your eye on. But hey, that's just what I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what your perspective is on this topic. Leave it in the comments section. Be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new, hit the subscribe button. Peace. So you made it all the way to the end of the video, but you haven't hit the like button yet. Come on now. You're cheating me, you're cheating yourself. Go ahead, hit the like button. And while you're at it, you might as well smash the subscribe button so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. I make a video every day, a different topic, a different subject. They're all interesting, so you can check them all out by hitting the subscribe button and setting your notifications to all so you get an alert when I drop a video. There you go.